Russell Brand, actor, comedian, intellectual, poet, author, influencer, teacher, and person in recovery. Russell Brand has so much to teach us about recovery. We can all learn, not just from what he says, but from what he does. When you pay attention, you can see that he not only talks the talk, but he walks the walk. He's one of those really good reminders of how much more we can be when we let go of our addictions. Because sure, yeah, he was an actor and a comedian, but now that he's embraced recovery, he's able to access so many more parts of himself, and we all benefit from it. There's so much wisdom in there, and in this video, I want to put a spotlight on his most brilliant advice.
So the personal transformation that I've undergone from being a hopeless, hapless, ridiculous drug addict with no future, no chance, no hope, to being an equal, valid member of this community is perhaps something that we can spread.
But have you ever run across any of those people who are in recovery and they'll tell you what to do or what they did, but they can't really offer much explanation or why it's important or why it worked for them or why you should do it? This is where I think Russell Brand really stands out differently. It's more than just a bunch of 12-step slogans. There's a much deeper wisdom here. If you haven't seen his book on recovery, you should definitely check it out. He takes those 12 steps and breaks it down in a much more accessible way, not to mention his humor and the depth of his content. But what I want to point out to you are the 3 elements of solid recovery. He's a great demonstration of all 3 core aspects of recovery, which are connection, creativity, and contribution. By being vulnerable and opening himself up, it makes it so easy to connect to his story. And you can see that he has a strong connection with his own spirituality and purpose in life. And you don't have to look very hard at all to see the way that he practices creativity. He makes videos, he writes books, poet, and on top of all that, he's so hilarious. He's one of the most quick-witted people. He can think on his toes like no one else. And his contribution is massive. We're talking books, interviews, he sponsors people, he makes YouTube videos, he shares his story whenever possible. It's these 3 things that make you feel connected and whole as a person and move you toward recovery and away from addiction. Listen to these wise words, which I think perfectly describes humility, which is another critical component of the recovery process.
I don't want to feel better than no one else no more. I don't want to feel worse than anyone else. And I want to participate in other people's becoming who they are intended to be.
I truly believe if he wouldn't have beat his addictions and worked on his own recovery, he wouldn't be able to share any of this with us, and we would all be worse off for it. If you think about all the people out there struggling with addiction, and inside of each one of those people, there are these geniuses and talents and gifts that no one else on the planet has. It's a reminder that we can't just give up and let ourselves go to addiction, that we have to fight past it for ourselves and for the other people in our lives. Now, up next, I want you to watch this video, which goes more in depth on how to actually beat addiction and cultivate all those critical recovery components.
It ain't no easy task to turn all that gunge, that swamp gunge, that Neolithic jet fuel into love of one another.